Done.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's HeroicDisasterr here, and I'm here to do a video about the things that I've learned in my teenage years. And this wasn't what I planned to do, but I was just here thinking about, like, what am I gonna do next? Like, what am I gonna talk about in my next video? And I'm like, you know what, I have younger cousins. I'm pretty sure that people that watch my videos have sisters or cousins or nieces. I personally don't have sisters and brothers that look up to me, but I have little cousins that do look up to me. And there's a lot of things that I've learned in my 20s that I want to share with you guys for my younger viewers, or people that are older that, you know, may have not experienced things that I've experienced, because everyone's life journey is different and everyone's story is different. So there's a lot of things that I've learned, sorry, and I just wanted to share with you guys. One thing I learned from a young age is that if something isn't meant to be, it's not going to happen. But what is meant to be, it will happen. And I know it's a very simple statement to make, but, you know, I grew up in a single parent home with my mom, and later on my aunt lived with us as well. And I only see my dad on the weekends. And I never really understood why, but I just knew that I seen daddy on the weekends and mommy during the weekdays, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. But as I started to get older, I'm like, oh, okay, this is not how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be in the same household. They're supposed to be raising me together. And then as I got older, I'm like, okay, my parents are divorced. And that's something that isn't easy for any kid to deal with, because it's like no kid wants to be going back and forth between two parents. And then on top of that, I had to deal with my parents constantly arguing and not getting along with each other. And it's like, you tell your mother this and you tell your father this, and this one talking bad about this person. I'm not saying that my parents are bad people, but, you know, it was just the constant arguments back and forth. And I had to learn that, you know, regardless of me being in the middle of the arguments, they're not going to get back together. And I try my best to just make them get along, and I try my best to, you know, I didn't really understand enough to really, like, convince my mom, but I kind of, like, gave hints and, you know, kind of guilt tripped her in a way, but it didn't work out. I never really understood until I gotten older why they're not together, and she told me the story, which I won't tell on camera, but it was hard for me to accept, and it made me, like, not like my father prior to him turning against me eventually for whatever reason. But I had to learn that at a young age, and it was hard for me. And as I gotten older, I've maintained that mindset, and I was like, you know what, if something doesn't happen for me, I'm not going to get too wrapped up in it. I'm just going to either deal with it the best way that I can or just move on. Like, I'm not going to keep asking why, because I already know that if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. So that's one thing that I learned at a very, very young age. Another thing that I was taught is to value money and to make sure that I can do for myself. And the whole value money kind of went out of the drain, down the drain, I mean, because, like, I had a mom that I have a mom that she always felt entitled to do everything for me. Anything that I asked for, she did it. Anything that I wanted, she got it for me. So it was kind of hard for me to actually value money. And I kind of grew with that mindset where I'm going to get anything that I want. So, well, from mommy, and, like, in particular, like, mommy's always going to have my back. So it was kind of hard for me to be frugal with money and save, because I already knew that somebody was going to have me financially. But that was only to a certain time in my life, and then I realized that, you know, mommy has other responsibilities at this point. I'm getting older, so mommy has to do this, and daddy wasn't really there financially or physically or emotionally, but we're not gonna get into that. So because I already knew that, hey. Hello. So because I already knew that she had other responsibilities, it was hard for me to, like, I lost my train of thought. You're welcome. But because I already knew she had like other responsibilities, it was kind of hard for me to want to ask for certain things. And then I got to the age where like I started working, and like it really motivated me to always and consistently work, and I felt the need to work only because I didn't want to go back and ask her for money. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to depend on her. And it was always hard for me to like depend on anybody else but her. So like me maintaining a job was a big thing. And then I also learned that like when you have a job, like certain people will like you at a certain point, and then eventually, like, because of who you are, they're not gonna accept you for who you are, and they're gonna want you to change. Like I've had several jobs where like I would start and they're like, oh, like you're so bubbly and you're always smiling and blah blah blah, and then they would do things on like a daily basis to make me upset. And I'm just like, okay, so you're trying to take away my happiness, obviously. Like anything that I did was a problem. And I was like, you know what, like maybe me working for other people isn't for me. And I learned that as well. Like I learned that I'm a good team player, but I'm not good with working for people because people like to dictate and not manage. And there's a fine line between that. And the way that my mind is set up, it's like, if I do my job correctly, like don't tell me who to be as a person. And compensating who you are as a person should never be in the workplace unless you're working for like a corporate job or wherever you work for. But I've worked for retail, I've worked in the food service business, so like I constantly had to compensate who I am, and it was hard. It was like, okay, so I moved through a lot of jobs. I worked at IHOP. That was my first job. And then I worked at Chipotle. IHOP was really crappy because I worked with a whole bunch of West Indians, and my family's West Indian, and I speak proper English, so people think I'm American, and they feel like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna talk crap about her. And then, because I don't like go around telling everybody like where my parents are from, because I wasn't originally born there, so I just felt the need to just like, you know, keep that to myself. And then like they would like talk about me, mistreat me, you know, put me on days that I'm not supposed to be working, you know, just a whole bunch of crap. And I'm just like, you know, like I don't need this. Like I'm way too young to be fighting for a job that I don't need. Like I want it, but I don't need to be here. So I left there, and then I moved to Jersey and I worked at Chipotle. That was great. I love Chipotle, but it seemed like the female managers didn't like me because I was always, I don't know, I don't want to say it's because I'm always happy, but just because of who I am. Like, I didn't let anything bother me, and I felt like they tried me a bunch of times, and I didn't allow them to get to me, and they didn't succeed, so they felt the need to just take it beyond that and fuck with me. So basically, they took me off the schedule for 1 week. And I had called, because usually you call in for your schedule, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm just going to call in for my schedule. And I called in, and they were like, oh, yeah, you're not on the schedule for this week. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, so what about next week? And they'll like, call back. And this happened twice from 2 different jobs. But anyways, so they did the same thing, and basically because my ex-boyfriend was working there at the time, when I left, and he told me that they told him, because they didn't want to speak to him when the situation happened, because they already knew that he was mad about what they did because they did some fucked up shit. Basically, they took me off the schedule just to see my reaction, because they thought I was going to be a typical black girl, I guess, and they wanted to see if I was going to, but like, why would you test me? Like, and I'm not a like confrontational person, so why would you do that? Like, I was hurt because I was like, you're messing with my money, and I didn't do anything wrong. So what did I do? I took it to the general manager, And the old me wouldn't have did that. The old me would have just sat there and cried and just let these people get away with what they're doing. And I'm like, nah, like, this is my money. And my mom had to get on me. And that's another thing that I learned, is to actually listen to my mom. But I'm gonna get into that. So I called the general manager, not the general manager, but like the whole division manager. Like, what do you call that? Like, when you own like a whole bunch of stores, like the franchise manager or something?
Guess so.
I don't know. But the guy that owned this whole store overall, not even the general manager, but like above that. And I called him and I told him like everything, and I just told him, you know, I didn't do anything. But if there was something that was done that I wasn't aware of, because I'm a very honest person, I'm like, if I wasn't doing the right thing, then let me know. Like, let me know that I wasn't performing well as a worker. Like, let me know what I was doing wrong. And he was like, oh yeah, I spoke to them and they said nothing was wrong. They said they want to rehire you. And I'm like, I don't want to work there. So then he offered me another job at another location. And the location was like an hour and a half away, and I wasn't driving. So I was like, you know what, just forget it, you know. And that really taught me that, like, and I had no idea. Like, these people were smiling in my face, acting like everything was cool. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. So I learned to try to keep it professional as possible and not feed into the smiles and everyone trying to portray as if they like you and they want what's best for you. Cause like when I was working there, like all the customers used to come in like, oh, like, you know, I like your makeup and blah, blah, blah. And they hated that. Like, they didn't want me like conversing with the customers. They were like, oh, just do the job and that's it, you know. And I felt like that's one of the reasons why, because there was literally, if they told their manager there was nothing wrong with me and there was nothing wrong with my performance, then obviously it had to be something personal. Like, they had no reasoning behind it. So after that, I worked at Qdoba, which is another Mexican grill restaurant. Basically the same concept. But the manager ended up liking me, and at first, I didn't really understand why, but I remember when I went on the interview, it was like literally hot as fuck outside. It was like 95 degrees, no exaggerations. It was mad hot. And I had on like a camisole with a blazer on top, but I buttoned up the blazer all the way up. But the blazer like the buttons don't go all the way up, but like I buttoned it like to the top, basically. So I noticed like throughout the whole interview, he's looking down my chest, and I'm a 32A, so I'm just like, what is he staring at? Like, there's nothing to really stare at. Anyways, so basically he hired me right on the spot, which I thought was weird, but I was thankful for the job because these people at Chipotle already fired me or did whatever dumb shit that they did, and I, you know, denied the job offer. Got this job probably like a week later, which was a blessing. I was thankful for it. But the manager had a freakish crush on me, and I was just like, okay. And like he would like show like different signs, like he would text me like a whole bunch of stuff, like, oh, you look really cute today at work. And like I'm the type of person that like I don't let anything bother me, as I mentioned before. Like, things don't bother me unless it pertains to my well-being and like my personal life. But like when it comes to like things outside of that, I'm just like, I'm cool, like I'm not gonna let this bother me. So like he would text me inappropriate things, and then when I was working there, like he would like come behind me and like brush up on me, and then act like he's like playing, and I'm just like, okay. Then like the second week in, he offered me a raise. Like I think I went from like $9.50 to like almost $10, like $9.80 something, which isn't like big, but it's still like I literally just started working here. Like, why am I getting a raise? I didn't complain at all. So basically, what are you looking for? What are you looking for?
I'm organizing.
Oh. So, so he gave me a raise, and then one day, like, he'd never seen my ex-boyfriend. He had, like, my ex-boyfriend used to drive, well, he does drive, and he used to come in and get me, but, like, he didn't come into the restaurant, but he used to come pick me up from work, and he, like, my boss never seen, like, someone come pick me up. So, like, when he seen him come pick me up physically, like, he pulled me aside, like, oh, so that's your brother? And I was like, no. And then he was like, oh, that's your boyfriend? And I was like, yeah. Literally, after that, completely changed. Like, he did a whole 360. Literally just had an attitude with me every day. Used to yell at me. All the compliments stopped. All the text messages stopped. And then one Saturday, and I'll always remember this, one Saturday my mom had a picnic at her job. And he came, I mean, not he came, what? I requested the day off 2 weeks prior. And he was like, oh, well, I can't guarantee you. And I was like, well, if I request the day off 2 weeks prior, then I should get the day. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like, it's in the manual. So he was like, oh, a lot of people requested that day. Because I think it was like 4th of July or something. I can't remember what day it was. But, like, I requested it, like, 2 weeks in advance. Like, it wasn't that serious. Like, first off, there wasn't even a lot of people working there. So, like, I'm just like, at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to stay. And if I requested it, then I should be able to get it. Anyway, so he gave me, like, this big runaround about that. And then the day came, and I was like, I called him before. And I was like, yeah, I told you that I'm not going to be able to come in today. So I'm not coming in because the picnic is in New York. Well, I don't think I told him it was a picnic. I just told him that I'm not going to be able to come in. And he was like, oh, well, you know, if you don't come in, then you're fired. Like, there's no guarantee that you're not gonna, there you go. He was like, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be on the schedule for next week. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, the fuck? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. So then after that, I called the week after that, and he was like, oh yeah, you're not on the schedule for this week either. And I was like, are you serious? Like, is it really that deep? So then, he just kept, like, messing with my hours, never put me on the schedule. So I literally went into the store, and my mom was there, and I was like, yo, like, what's up? Like, why are you not putting me on the schedule? Like, is it that deep? Like, I'm pretty sure people has done this in the past. Like, first off, you gave me a raise, you made it seem, and then and then on top of that, on top of the raise, he said, oh, probably by, like, August, because I got hired in June. He was like, probably by August, I'm going to offer you a manager position, but you have to study for your permit so you could drive. And I was like, I can't afford a car. And he was like, he'll co-sign. So, and I'm like, you're doing all of this, and then after I request one day off because you found out that I have a boyfriend, you want to sit here and play with my money? Oh, okay. My mom came in and cursed him the fuck out. But, like, my mom is not, like, ghetto. She's very, like, posh in a way. So, like, she didn't curse him out, but she put him in his place real good in an intellectual way, and he was shocked because I know that's what he was waiting for. Like, he was so shocked. Like, when he seen her came in, he was like, oh, this is serious. Like, I really wish I had big brothers or big cousins to come in there and really fuck him up, but I was like, you know what, it's cool. So that happened. So I had a lot of crazy, like, experiences with jobs. After that, I worked at Forever 21, and then that was my last job. Forever 21 was shitty, and I know a lot of people that worked at the Forever 21 on 42nd Street already knows. It's literally the worst job ever. Like, I don't think any of my jobs in the past can touch that store. Like, it's really bad. So that store is so big that so much shit goes on, but they want to focus on the small things. And I'm like, dude, do you realize that people are literally having sex in the freaking elevators? But you want to focus on me taking an extra 10 minutes on break? Are you serious? I mean, technically, it's messing with their money in a way. But then again, people are stealing regardless. So I'm just like, you need to really just, like, check your cameras and focus. Because they went so hard about little shit. And I'm just like, honestly, like, I can't. And I dealt with that I worked there from, I think, September, October, November. No, I worked there over the summer. So August, September, October, November, December, until December. And then in December, like, me and this manager had, like, a huge altercation. Basically, my grandmother was sick, and I had to go into the fitting room to make a call because I was on the floor. And I didn't want to make the call on the floor, like, and plus my family's from overseas. Like, I can't just, like, make a call anytime. Like, it's literally, if something happens, I have to get it done. So I'm calling her, whatever, and basically they accused me of stealing because I rushed into the fitting room, and another girl happened to be in the same fitting room because I guess she was on Facebook or Instagram or something. And they were like, oh, you were in the fitting room with another girl, blah, blah, blah. I was like, do you want to check my call log? Like, I just made an overseas call. Like, And I'm literally like explaining to them, like, my grandmother's sick, I had an emergency, she just happened to be in the fitting room, like, I don't know exactly why she was in the fitting room, but she was in there. Like, why are you focused on what she's doing? Like, I'm telling you the severity of my case and you're sitting here getting mad. So the manager was like, yeah, like, we had it up to here with you and we don't know, like, you let me know, do you want me to fire you or you could walk out? And I was like, give me the papers so I can resign. Thank you. Like, there was so much other shit that was going on with that job that pissed me off. Like, the management sucks. And, like, I was working from, like, 8 in the evening to, like, 6 o'clock in the morning. And, like, that was my shifts constantly. And I'm like, bro, like, I keep telling these people, at that time, I was going to church, and I kept telling them I need Sundays off, and I need Saturdays off, because what they would do is not give me Sunday, but they would give me Saturday night into Sunday morning till 6 o'clock, and knowing that I had to go to church. And I was just like, why would you do that? But the pay was $10, and I was pretty happy with that. And then I did get offered a merchandising position, but it wasn't worth it, honestly. And I felt like my work ethics kind of declined at the point where I was like, I could never work for this company. So I was just like, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to collect my money and just do the basics. I'm not going to sit here and go hard for nothing, because first off, people, like, the fact that they offered me is good, but people that work there, they told me that they like, offer them certain things, but they don't really, like, move them up until years later. And I don't got time for that. Like, at that time, I mean, I'm 20 now, but I was 19, and I was like, I'm not going to sit here for 3 and 4 years just to get one position. Like, I'd rather go somewhere where I could learn and, like, move up. I'm not saying I have to move up within weeks, but, like, I don't feel the need to wait years just to get a position that I deserve, because I know I'm capable of doing it. And it wasn't that hard. It wasn't like a technical position. Like, it was something that I was actually interested in. So I was just like, it's definitely not worth it. And then the management sucked. So yeah, definitely learned how to play the game and make the best decisions with jobs, because a lot of people, like, not even just being 20, because I'm 20 now, and I'm talking about, like, things I learned in my teenage years. People stay in jobs, like, as they get older just because they need to make money. Like, I get you have a family to feed, you have bills to pay. I get it. It depends on your circumstance, but if you don't have to, don't feel entitled to stay just to make sure that everybody else is comfortable with that. Like, you need to do it for you. And, like, if you're going to stay in a job, like, make sure that you're happy and make sure the benefits are on the same, like, level. You know what I mean? Like, don't stay at a job because you're unhappy and you're getting money. Like, because you're making a certain amount of money and you're unhappy with the job, you're not doing what you love, it doesn't make sense. And that's what I was doing. Like, I was making $10. That's decent for someone my age. And then on top of that, I would just pay my phone bill and my credit card bill. So I wasn't, like, buying food. Like, I was buying lunch, but, like, that wasn't really anything, because I was, like, cooking as well and then buying lunch here and there. So I didn't really have a lot of responsibilities. So definitely don't feel entitled to stay at a job. Why do I sound like that? I sound so ugly. Anyways, yeah, don't feel entitled to stay at a job if you're not happy. It definitely doesn't work out well, because it will definitely reflect in your job performance, and it's just not worth it. So this video turned into, like, me talking about my job experiences, whatever. But I guess I'll make, like, a part 2 video on more things that I learned throughout my, like, teenage years, because, like, I ran out of space on my camera and I need to buy a new memory card. So yeah, if you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up for part 2. You're so annoying. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys in the next video.